Hey guys, welcome back. I hope y'all are doing well. Today, I'm hopping into Pink Friday 2, which is Nicki Minaj's latest release at the time of this recording. I know the album is a few months old at this point, but yeah, I'm just getting around to covering some albums from 2023 that I want to cover. Anyways, I didn't feel this album lived up to the original album. I felt the sequel album had so much potential to be just as great, if not better than the original. Anyways, let's go ahead and hop right into it. This is her fifth studio album that was released on December 8th, 2024. This was her first release in 5 years. Her previous album was Queen, which was released in 2018. The album has a runtime of about 1 hour and 10 minutes and contains 5 singles. They're Super Freaky Girl, Red Ruby Deslease, Last Time I Saw You, Everybody, featuring Lil Uzi Vert, and FTCU. Features on the album include J. Cole, Lil Wayne, Tate Cobain, Drake, Lourdes, Lil Uzi Vert, Skillabang, Skank, Future, and Tasha Cobbs Leonard. Personally, I found a few problems throughout the entirety of this album. I wasn't the biggest fan of some of the samples used throughout. I just feel some of them are just kinda there and end up getting repetitive. Even after a couple of listens to some of these tracks. I also wasn't the biggest fan of some of the features who do appear on the album. I just found some of them, again, to just be there and not add much of anything to the track, but I do feel there are a few decent features on here. I wasn't a big fan of some of the production at times either. There are times where I personally do enjoy some of the production, but at other times it's not really the best for me. On some of the tracks, it honestly feels like they're taking someone like me with little to no experience with production and just saying, "Oh, we know you don't know much about production, but can you make this beat for us? We're just gonna let you use your phone with this app like GarageBand. This is the best way to do it. We don't really care if people notice it or not. We just want something to be there to kind of be like some sort of filler." So yeah, that's kind of like how I felt at some points. As for lyrics and flows, I personally feel they're hit or miss. Sure, there's some personal lyrics on some of the tracks, which I don't mind myself. It's something someone can relate to if they've experienced the same thing or things as Nicki Minaj did. The last thing I want to hit on is overall tracks and track lengths. The album has 22 tracks on the standard edition. Again, with a runtime of about 1 hour and 10 minutes. I feel in a way this is kind of like the new normal for albums. Looking at some albums that were released in the past couple of years. On top of that, I feel some of these tracks are too much on the shorter side, being, like 2.5 minutes or less, which has also become a new normal again. It seems like a lot of artists, mainstream or not, have been trying to follow this trend to try and rack up more streaming numbers, as like the more streaming numbers they get, the more revenue they'll be earning and so forth. But I know not every track here on Pink Friday 2 follows this, as we do get plenty of tracks that hit anywhere from 3 to 5 minutes. But in a way, I found this album a little bit lengthy, especially with how many tracks are on here and overall runtime. I personally felt like the best 15 tracks should have made it on here, and rework some of the tracks that I personally didn't care for the deluxe edition. And again, that's how I feel for a lot of albums anymore. It's like, choose the best like 10, 15 tracks for an album that are definitely the best, and everything else rework and add for a deluxe edition if the artist is up for a deluxe edition. So yeah, anyways, I suppose this finishes off this rant, and I know we won't get this 5 minutes back unless you guys practically skip through this section. So yeah, let's go ahead and continue. So now I'm just gonna hop into some of the tracks. We start the album off with Are You Gone Already? I didn't feel this was too bad of a track to start the album with. The track samples When the Party's Over by Billie Eilish. I didn't feel it was too bad of a sample, and I definitely feel this was one of the better samples used. Lyrically, the track is about the birth of her kid and not meeting her father, as Nicki Minaj's father passed away in 2021. I felt FTCU was an alright track. The track samples Fuck the Club Up by Waka Flocka Flame, featuring Pastor Troy and Slim Duncan. I wasn't the biggest fan of the sample, as I just found it to be more or less repetitive. I felt it could have been used differently, for sure. For the verses, I felt they were alright with the flow and sound. Beep Beep wasn't too bad. The track samples AKA by Baka Not Nice. In a way, I wish this track was slightly longer, as it just taps a minute and a half. Let Me Calm Down is one of the better tracks. It does feature a verse from J. Cole. I personally enjoy his verse. I love J. Cole's, lyrics and his flow and presence here on this track. Lyrically, this track hits on the theme of complexities that arise in relationships. I personally wasn't the biggest fan of R&B. In a way, I feel it's the usual Nicki Minaj and Lil Wayne collaboration. This time we have Tate Cobain in the mix. I just kind of wish Lil Wayne wasn't on this track, as his verse is more or less the usual sexual references and what he do to a woman's vagina. I just feel Needle is a mid-track. I don't necessarily feel there's a whole lot special about it. I don't necessarily feel Drake really adds much to this track, and I personally haven't really cared for much of Drake's works over the past couple of years. But I do feel this track is such a contrast from his feature on Moment for Life on the original Pink Friday. I personally really wasn't a big fan of Cowgirl either. I just feel the chorus comes off weak. I like what happened with the sample on Everybody, but I feel like the track was too dependent on it, especially when some of their lines depend on the sample word Everybody. The song heavily samples Move Your Feet by Junior Senior with its instrumental and even lyrics. Again, where we hear the repetitive everybody and don't stop the beat. I personally feel Lil Uzi Vert just kind of ends up falling flat. I personally wasn't the biggest fan of his verse. Now, what happens when you sample Girls Just Wanna Have Fun by Cyndi Lauper in an instrumental that sounds like someone made off their phone in 5 minutes? Well, you get Pink Friday Girls. I really don't think this track was that great, especially with some of the mixing on Nicki's vocals. I personally didn't mind the sample, but I felt it could have been done another way and could have been better. Again, with the instrumental, it honestly doesn't seem like anyone cared enough that the quality of the 808 or what they were using was even that great. It just sounds like again someone was just using their phone, and sounds exactly like something I do with my phone through some downloadable studios, even if I'm not that great at making my own beats in the first place. Super Freaky Girl, I don't mind, but I'm not the biggest fan of the sample. I personally feel MC Hammer did better by sampling Super Freak by Rick James. I personally feel Last Time I Saw You is one of the best tracks on the album. It definitely reminds me of something off the original Pink Friday with its more R&B sound. Lyrically, the track is about looking back on a past relationship with someone who's no longer there in your life, and you wish you could go back and do things differently. I'll finish this off with just memories. I didn't feel this was too bad of a track to finish off the album. I didn't mind her flows and the verses on the track. Lyrically, it reflects back at her career and what has happened over the years. She mentions Drake and Lil Wayne, who have collaborated with her plenty of times and have been there for her in some shape or form. My favorite tracks are Last Time I Saw You, Are You Gone Already, and Fallen For You. Today, I'll give this album a 2.5 out of 5. Anyways, I hope you all enjoyed this video. This was definitely an interesting album to listen to. As usual, feel free to leave your thoughts down below in the comments. Next week, I'll be looking at Collar Grove by 2 Chainz.